Well, we want to make a recording about some of the features of Elohim in the Hebrew Bible. And if you have good Bible software, this is very easy to do. I have my Logos Bible software open. This is version 7. And you'll notice I have it open at Genesis 1:1, very familiar verse in the Bible. I've clicked on the word God. This is the ESV translation. And you'll notice that God is the English translation of the Hebrew term Elohim. Right here it is. Now, if we want to find out how many times Elohim occurs in the Hebrew Bible, it's very easy. We right-click, we choose lemma, because lemma is the dictionary form of a word. For instance, if you were looking up the word running in the dictionary, you wouldn't find it, but you would find the word run. Okay, so run would be the lemma for the English dictionary. In this case, we have Elohim as a lemma. We click on this resource, and we're searching all Bible texts and all passages in the ESV, but we're searching on a Hebrew term. What's really neat about the software is that you can search for Hebrew terms and it returns your results in English. We have 2,600 times Elohim occurs in the Hebrew Bible. Now, if you want to see the Hebrew, maybe you can read Hebrew. I'm going to type in LHB, that's the Lexham Hebrew Bible, and then we add Hebrew in the column here. I will make a PDF of the search results here and put it on the website for anyone who's interested. And then you have a record of where Elohim occurs in the Hebrew Bible. The next thing we want to do is search for Elohim as the grammatical subject of a verb, just generally. How many times is Elohim the subject of a verb as opposed to being the object of a prepositional phrase or a direct object or something like that? Because we want to know this, let's just say Elohim is a subject of a verb. I have a saved search here. We want to know this because we're going to compare how many times Elohim is used with a plural verb, a subset of this first search. Let me explain the search. We're searching for clauses here. If you know anything about grammar, a clause is a group of words that has a subject and predication. Unordered means it doesn't matter what order the constituents of the clause appear in. Our subject here is Elohim. So it doesn't matter if the verb comes first or the subject comes first. It's irrelevant. We're going to catch everything here. And then here for the verbal constituents, I put in a whole bunch of things that could function verbally. Finite verb, infinitives, participles, whatnot. And we're searching all passages in a different database this time. Anderson Forbes Phrase Marker Analysis Data Set. This is of the Hebrew Bible. It's a different markup of the Hebrew Bible to find grammatical function, syntactical function. So let's click Search. And we have 432 results. So 432 times in the Hebrew Bible. And I have LHB here because we used that last time. This is the database we actually searched, Anderson Forbes Hebrew Bible, different markup, same text. But 432 times we have Elohim as the subject of a verbal form. Okay, not terribly interesting, but let's just close this. And we'll close this one. We're going to go to a different search here. Elohim as subject of a plural predication. You notice all the elements here are the same, except this time I've added a segment, word level information, to the predicator, and I want plural verb forms. Very simple. So let's just see when Elohim is the subject of a plural form. Remember, we had 432 times Elohim was the subject of a verb, any verb. Here we only have 23 times in the Hebrew Bible, so it's pretty rare, where Elohim is actually the subject of a plural predicator. Now, as I've noted on the website, I did a peer-reviewed journal article on this. You could actually, look at all these and say that, and see that, well, sometimes they're not about Elohim himself. Like here you have Genesis 6:2, you have the B'nai Ha-Elohim as the subject of a particular verb form. Plural verb form. And that's obviously, we're not talking about the lone deity of the Bible, the lone deity of Israel. We're talking about the sons of God, quote unquote, angelic beings, that sort of thing. So it's not a perfect search. I mean, there are ways to get really complicated and granular to eliminate B'nai Ha Elohim or B'nai Elohim from just the term Elohim. I'm not going to bore you with that and try to explain the complicated grammatical syntactical search that I'd have to do in the software to pull that off. But you could look up all of these references and you'll find when Elohim occurs by itself. Let's just look for a specific example here. There's a couple interesting ones. 2 Samuel 7:23. Here you have Elohim. Let's just click out to it. And Anderson Forbes, that's kind of dense, kind of hard to read. Let's just go to 2 Samuel 7:23 here. And this is a little bit easier. So here we have God, Elohim, right there, very easy. Went to redeem. Now here we have halakhu. This is, if we hover over the grammar information, it's a plural verb form. So here we have Elohim as the subject of a plural verb form. But it's still semantically singular. Why? How do we know? Look at the verse. Who is like your people Israel, the one nation on earth whom Elohim went to redeem to be his people? We have a singular suffix, making himself, singular suffix, a name. So even when we have Elohim as a plural predicator, there are going to be a number of instances of these 23. It's actually, if we take out B'nai Elohim, it's less than 23. It's a dozen or so, to be really technical. You're going to have a dozen or so instances where Elohim is the subject of plural predication. And really, you could make a case for all of them that in the context, either a grammatical context like this, where we have a singular pronoun referring back to Elohim, that it's still singular. Or there's something else in the context that indicates it's still singular. Now the question is, well, why would Hebrew scribes do this? Why, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times do they have Elohim with a singular verb form, and now we have Elohim with a plural verb form? The short answer is nobody really knows for sure. No, grammarians have looked at this. Sometimes it's something called an honorific construction, but the real honest answer is it's probably just the scribe. The scribe did something stylistically that we're just not catching, but in the context, and 2 Samuel 7:23 is a very good example, it's still semantically singular, the God of Israel. Now one more search to run. Let's go up to Documents here, and let's see if I can find this particular search. Oh, no, I can't. Let's do it on the fly. Oh, let's go to, I think I had a verse, yeah, Exodus 9:30. I remember finding this one to model as our search. We have the phrase, Lord God. If I click on it, let's just get rid of this. It's not distracting us. We have the divine name, Yahweh, and then Elohim right here. Yahweh Elohim in compound. So another indication that's very easy to show where Elohim is clearly singular to the biblical writers is when Elohim is compounded with the singular divine name Yahweh. How many times does that happen? Well, let's look. Let's right click on Yahweh. There it is. And we'll search this resource. We have 6,800 and so occurrences of Yahweh right here. Now, let's look back here at Elohim. Search for Elohim. We've already done something a little bit like this before. Elohim again 2,600 times. Now I'm going to copy right here. This is selected. I'm going to hit Control-C and copy this search for Elohim. Move back here. Click in the line. Type the Boolean operator and paste in Elohim. And now we have a search for combination Yahweh Elohim. There's a lot of them. So when someone tells you that Elohim in the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, is plural, they're lying to you. Okay, they're deceiving you. They are inept. They have not done the searching. Right here is visual, verifiable evidence, and I'll put the PDF on the website, where you have in a whole lot of places Yahweh is combined with Elohim, making the, again, obvious point that Elohim for the God of Israel is a singular deity, not a plural bunch. Okay? So we need to go back to primary sources. We have today, in today's world, the tools to do this very quickly, very efficiently, and you need to stop listening to people who don't do this kind of searching, okay, because they're misleading you.